Okay, you guys. So welcome tonight. I don't think we have any new people, but this is all going to be about bloating, why we bloat, what causes it, what we can do to kind of fix it, all kinds of things with that. But what we're going to start with are some announcements, which are pretty basic and straightforward. As far as assessments for working with me in the app, wanted to let you guys know that those are all complete for the week at least, and all have been responded to. So if you submitted one, please check your messages so that you can see if there's any follow-up questions that you have based on that. Remember that slow progress is building with many, right? So slow progress is good progress. That's something that I want you guys to remember, is we shouldn't be aiming for a 5, 10, 15 pound drop every single week or 2 weeks. It's just not sustainable long term. That is not what I want you guys expecting. 1 to 2 pounds per week is the goal for the most of the people. And if you have less to lose, it's probably even less than that we have as a goal for you. Plan for success on the let's see, on weekends. So there's a lot of people that are, have changing schedules as far as like ball games and nicer weather and stuff. So like you have more plans going on, graduation parties and such will be starting up soon, which is crazy to think about. So starting to plan for success on your weekends is going to really be helpful for you as you move forward. Start putting more focus on water and minimally processed foods to get better results even faster. And then aim for intentionally daily walking. Remember that walking is going to absolutely be a big game changer for overall fat loss, muscle recovery, as well as just feeling better. It even gives an uptick in mood. It can reduce hunger, all kinds of things like that. So please do feel free to go for extra walks. You don't have to go running, just go for extra steps as often as you can. Aside from that, you guys, we're going to go ahead and hop in to this topic. So bloating, common versus normal. It's so common to bloat that it's been normalized. However, things you shouldn't have to deal with on a daily and weekly basis include excess gas, heartburn, constipation, diarrhea, trapped gas, irregular bathroom. Yes, you should be pooping like 1 to 2 times a day. So if you are not doing that for a few days in a row, not normal. Common, not normal. Big difference. Okay. So I want you guys to understand, yes, this is part of life. We do these things. If you're not doing them on the regular or you don't feel very good, there's a sign there that we need to fix something. So what can cause bloat? There's numerous things that can cause the bloat, you guys. The gut is such an amazing piece of us that is actually really getting a lot of attention and science done on it right now to get more and more data to help us control and do better and heal and all the things. But so many things cause bloat. But the top things that I have found and I have worked with people on that cause their bloat specifically is a ton of stress in life that adds to body stress. So a ton of stress. Also, overly processed foods, having them way too often, as well as alcohol. Medications, some of them, as well as antibiotics, can make a big impact on gut health. Where you're at in your cycle. I think everybody on this call tonight is female. So where you're at in your cycle, when you're going to have your period makes a big difference when you might be experiencing that. Too much carbonation and caffeine can play a big role in how much you bloat. And then eating too quickly, which I know sounds really crazy, but it's super true. So I'm going to break down each one of these, give you guys some background on them so you can help see maybe which things are causing you to go through that and see where we can kind of start to fix it so that you don't struggle with it anymore. So as far as stress goes, there's the gut-brain axis, which is the vagus nerve. That is the nerve that connects and communicates from your brain to your gut on like all the time. So it's always sending signals and releasing hormones in conjunction with what it's sending back and forth. So the signals are sent via that nerve, and then that can cause some headaches. It can cause stomach aches. It can cause nausea, appetite changes, as well as hormone fluctuations. So with all of those things, if you have a lot of stress in your life and your gut hurts, or you have a headache because of the stress, like they talk about stress headaches, you can then feel nauseous because of that. Or if you have a gut ache because you have like a stomach bug, or you ate something that wasn't great for you, or whatever, then you might all of a sudden get like lightheaded or feel really hot. That is that vagus nerve transferring those signals back and forth. And all of those things can lead to potential bloating as well. So just keeping that in mind, if you have a lot of high stress in your life, or you're going through a really high stress time right now, you may be struggling with more bloat because of that alone. Another one, overly processed foods are the biggest culprit, and typically alcohol as well. So overly processed foods are full of preservatives, additives, chemicals, these like man-made engineered foods. Okay. And what happens is they can lead to a lot of excess gut inflammation because these substances aren't really recognized by your body as normal foods. So then that can lead to that gut inflammation and can also lead to issues like leaky gut due to the mucosal lining being damaged inside your stomach. And if that happens, that can lead to all kinds of intolerances, bloating, gas, everything. And not to mention highly palatable and addictive. So you're always left wanting more, repeating that cycle over and over again. So there's actually even been studies shown that, and I won't go too deep into this, but there's even been studies shown that food companies that are doing all these really highly processed foods will do studies ahead of time to see which foods are most palatable and which ones will be most addicting for people so that they can make more of them. And they can specify exactly what that carb and fat ratio is or that flavor is so that it will make that food product more addicting essentially. And then when you take those in and it starts to hurt your gut lining and it starts to cause maybe leaky gut, which is I'm pretty sure what I struggled with for so long, then that can really lead to a lot of issues because if you have leaky gut and permeable gut, that can let food particles out early when it's not supposed to. And then that leads to the bloating, the gas, the just like feeling sick, indigestion, intolerances, all kinds of things. So really these overly processed foods and alcohols can really do a lot of damage on your gut if you're taking them in way too often. So that's kind of how that works. So just like removing some of those processed foods from your life or maybe reducing how often we're having drinks can make a big difference. Medications and antibiotics. By no means am I going to tell you stop taking your meds, right? Like if your doctor says take your meds, please do take your meds. That is between you and your doctor. Same thing goes for antibiotics. But what I will say is not all of them, but many can impact the gut microbiome and kill and alter the good and bad bacteria ratios. So a lot of those antibiotics, they're going to wipe out all bacteria in your gut. So then you're left with like this empty slate where usually there's like this homeostasis between the two of them and they kind of work together essentially. So when we take the antibiotics, then you might notice that you don't feel good for a while. Your stomach doesn't digest normally for a while. It's because you're trying to build back up your microbiome in your gut again. So that can lead to some of that extra bloating and gas. So if you're someone who tends to be on antibiotics a couple times a year for colds or, whatever, then this could be something that starts to lead to issues down the road or just constant gut recovery type issues. So keeping that kind of stuff in mind is going to be helpful pending your personal medical history. Your monthly cycle. This one is normal to have a little bit of bloating during. Okay. So that's going to happen typically. We can minimize it, but understanding that the week prior to your period is usually going to be the worst due to the massive drops in testosterone and increases in estrogen. So when that happens, that's when we feel like that huge shift. We're really tired. We're really weak. We want all of the food. We want all of the things. We're kind of grumpy, all that stuff. That is going to definitely be the case there. And you will probably be experiencing some of that bloat there. And that is normal. The actual day one of your period, your hormones should start to shift again back to normal, and that would restore that strength as well as reducing that bloat down. So really a lot of people, it's that week before where it's worst. And then once we officially start, we kind of start to feel more ourselves again. So something to kind of keep in mind based on where you're at in your month to know what to kind of expect as being normal or kind of tying something for a reasoning. Carbonation can also be a big kicker, and something I discovered for myself as well. So what happens when you drink carbonated fluids is it can actually put a lot of excess pressure on your intestines where most of the absorption is going to occur. So that's going to actually cause extra gas and possible discomfort if that carbonation gets to your intestines and it's kind of expanding in there all at once. And that's also why alcohol with carbonation in it can cause us to get drunk a lot faster, because if you're putting extra pressure on your intestines with the alcohol, it's going to cause the uptake and the digestion and absorption of alcohol to be a lot faster. So if you're taking in drinks that have carbonation compared to maybe your significant other that is drinking drinks that is not carbonated, then you may find yourself getting drunk a bit faster than they are purely because of the carbonation alone. So something to just sort of keep in mind for how your body's operating with those types of things in it. But if you do find yourself having a lot of discomfort, gas, that kind of thing, after having carbonated drinks, something I do is if I'm going to have something carbonated, I just pop it open and leave it open in the fridge for a while and let it all kind of flatten out. And if I really want that for flavor, then that way I can have it without having that carbonation and it doesn't kick my butt so hard. So something to just sort of consider. Eating too quickly. This is the last one I had listed. So swallowing excess air. If you are shoveling your food in and like barely chewing it and swallowing it because you're on the run, you have kids getting somewhere, you're between like classes at work or something like that, you're probably going to be swallowing a lot of excess air. And when that happens, then you're going to have that trapped air in there. And if you don't necessarily belch or you can't pass it, then it's just sort of sitting there and you kind of feel bleh. So that's something. Also, if we're eating too fast, you're likely going to overeat. This is when that tends to happen. So if you happen to overeat because you're eating too fast, then that satiety signal didn't have time to kick in. And then all of a sudden we feel like Thanksgiving all the time, right? And that's not what we want either. That's not fun. Food particles can also cause extra discomfort because they're too big and you didn't chew them long enough. All of those can lead to extra, gas and bloat just because your body has to work harder to break things down. So all things to consider, and they can be as simple as eating slower or just doing some food swaps, you guys. So my main takeaways for this call, to kind of give it a brief overview for some things that you can really do. If you deal with a lot of stress, anything you could do to reduce body stress is going to be huge. Maybe that is journaling. Maybe that is calling a friend. Maybe that is going for a walk outside with no earbuds, no phone, no nothing. Maybe that's you just outside in nature for a while. Maybe that is you doing meditation or sauna or something like that. Anything that can kind of reduce some of that body stress for you is going to be helpful if you're going through one of those situations. Reducing ultra processed foods, fast foods, and alcohols. I mean, I think deep down, we all know that we probably shouldn't have as much of these as we're having, but if you're living off of Hamburger Helper and McDonald's and the gas station sandwiches, we probably need to make some changes. And I say this because this used to be me. Okay. So I used to do these things too. It's okay. But if we can start to reduce some of these things out of your life on a regular basis, you're going to probably see a lot of really huge improvements in not only your gut health, but your overall health, how you feel, how you think, your energy levels, everything right away. Let's see. Talk with your doctor about meds if you feel like maybe they're causing some of your issues, and maybe before taking an antibiotic next time, see if it's something that you really sincerely do need. Because a lot of times, like when you take that antibiotic and it wipes out that whole gut microbiome, it takes a long time to rebuild that. So if it's not something that you really do need, then maybe double check that on yourself before you choose to utilize it. Not a medical person here, right? My opinion is only my opinion. I just say be your own advocate and make sure that you're double checking what they're suggesting. Let's see. Track your cycle so you know when to expect certain symptoms. I never used to track my cycle, you guys, like ever. It was bad. I had no idea when things were coming. I had no idea when things were going. It's a miracle I got pregnant twice. I have no when I was supposed to be doing the diddity so that I can make the babies, but it worked out. Okay. So what I'm saying though, if we don't check our periods, we don't know where we're at in our cycle. Therefore, if we're getting bloat and we don't know that our period's next week, well, then what are we blaming it on? Why is this here? What can we fix or change when really this time it's normal, right? So track your periods so that way you know where you're kind of at. So you can kind of start to determine, oh, you know what, it's probably that week before period thing. Or if it's not, what are we doing that we need to fix? So that's something to consider. Avoid carbonation if you notice it causing you issues. Like I was saying, if you notice that like carbonated drinks start to cause you issues, maybe let them flatten out or choose other things. There's always other options. And then eat slower and chew your food more, right? Actually enjoy the food instead of shoveling it and just like swallowing it all. I used to be the person that would eat a sandwich in like 4 bites and like, okay, I want more. Like, no, you don't. You're just not realizing you're full yet. So be sure to slow down. Actually enjoy the food that you're making for yourself. You took the time to put it together. I know sometimes we're in a hurry, but do your best to slow down, actually chew, actually swallow, let it sit before you just shove more in. That's going to be a really helpful way to reduce that overeating habit for one, but two, to help you reduce that amount of swallowed air that you're taking in. So all benefits that will help you in the long run. But that is the main stuff that I have for you guys as far as bloating goes. It's kind of like a general overview, not like crazy specific stuff, but you're welcome at this point to unmute, put things in the chat. You can ask questions about this topic, about any other topics, anything at all that you need. Well, I hope this was helpful in some way, you guys. If you have any questions following up on this call, shoot me the questions. We can talk through the stuff that you're struggling with specifically and maybe come up with some sort of solutions or things that we can try or conversations that you can have with your doctor if need be to get you feeling better. That is my biggest intention for you all, is to feel better. So I hope you all have a great night. And like I said, if you need anything, I'm always here for you. So talk to you later.